Welcome to another episode of Founders Club. Today, we're going to be talking to Athena Brownson, who is a former professional skier turned top agent. She's on a team with only one other agent and an office manager doing over 50 million a year, and they're one of the top teams in Colorado. We're going to be talking about how to build a large referral-based business and a simple system that anyone can use to sell more homes. If you have any questions, put them in the box down below. Make sure you check out all the links in the description. And as always, if you like money and you like real estate, like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the inside. Welcome to Founders Club, the show for real estate entrepreneurs. Athena, welcome to Founders Club.
Oliver, thank you for having me in the Founders Club. I automatically feel like some sort of VIP just based on the name. So thank you.
Nice. Well, yeah, excited to have you. I know that you're one of the top agent teams in Colorado, so really excited to get down to the nitty gritty and learn some tactics and strategies. But I also know that you were a longtime professional skier before you got into real estate, and that is quite the transition. So why don't we start with just kind of how
Yeah.
that happened and how you transitioned from skiing professionally to the real estate business.
Yeah. And when I put the story together, it makes a lot more sense as to really why skiing as a professional athlete set me up. It was the best business school that I ever could have asked for how to succeed in real estate. And I grew up in a small town in It's called Breckenridge, Colorado. If you're into skiing and snowboarding, you might know it. But basically, I knew how to ski when I knew how to walk, which was about 3 years old. My dad was a professional skier and a developer. So my childhood really consisted of following him around job sites, being freezing cold, thinking that real estate was the worst thing ever because that's what I associated it with. And then and really enjoying being with him on the snow. Um, and what really, I think any athletic endeavor or anything that you're really passionate about growing up, what you don't realize is that the tools that you're learning from your coaches. So, by the time I was, getting into my early teen years, I was really gaining momentum, getting closer and closer to going professional, which I ended up going pro at age 15. And I had some of the most elite coaches in the world. So there was a certain level of accountability and discipline that were expected. And the art of showing up was something that was instilled in me from a very young age. And the art of showing up means showing up when it's good, bad, and ugly. There's not ever going to be a time in life when every single day you hop out of bed excited to go get after it. I would go to the gym at 5 a.m. so I could work out for 2 hours before I hit the first chair at 8 a.m., ski until 5 p.m., and then go back to the gym for my, dry land training basically, and then do it over again for about 300 days a year. And during this time, my coaches really taught me what resilience was. They taught me what I was made of. They taught me grit, because if I did not show up for these mandatory activities, then there were going to be consequences. I was going to be doing burpees and ski boots all day. I was going to be hiking the mountain, whatever it looked like. But really, they taught me these core principles of the art of showing up and being resilient and understanding adversity and understanding overcoming adversity. I blew, 9 knees, broke a couple necks, broke a few legs during the ski career, which, was ages 15 to probably a little before 25, when my knee surgeon said, Athena, you're going to need a knee replacement before you're 30. I think you should think about this. That was after my ninth ACL surgery. So decided to hang up the boots. And
Wow.
that's when, I kind of started, it was almost an identity crisis of, okay, who am I outside of skiing? What do I want to do? I never considered real estate. In Breckenridge, there are more real estate offices than t-shirt shops, and it's a tourist town. So that's saying something. I had this horribly negative connotation with realtors and real estate just being very transactional, and it didn't feel like it was something that was authentic to me. Um, I ended up going into the world of interior design, and I loved it, but I quickly realized that being I like to say that athletes are almost entrepreneurs in a way, because the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out. And there's not necessarily a ceiling. So I knew that if I trained really hard and if I was diligent and I showed up and I really put my all into it, that the sky was the limit. But when I was working for someone in a more corporate environment, I quickly realized that space was not one that I was going to thrive in. So I got really lucky. I had a amazing girlfriend who's now, I believe, the number one agent in Montana. She sells about 120 million a year on her own. She's a complete rock star, Charlotte Durham. And she said, Athena, what are you doing? You love homes. You grew up in development. You love interior design. You love people. Like, why are you not in the real estate industry? And I told her that I had these preconceived notions that I think a lot of us carry, that are not in real estate, about realtors just being very transactional and almost used cars salesman-y. She said, look, just sit down with my mentor, the owner of my company, have lunch with him, pick his brain, see what you think. That day, which actually I just celebrated my 11th anniversary of being licensed. So that was about a month ago, 11 years prior. And I sat down with him, and he was one of those humans that you sit down and he just like radiates goodness and sunshine. And he told me, he really, really instilled in me the beautiful importance that realtors have in being able to guide people through one of the largest transactions, be it buying, selling, investing, developing, of their entire lives. Like, this is, one of the top three most stressful times in someone's life. And we have the opportunity to take that and transform it into a positive experience. I literally quit my job the next day, signed up for real estate school, got my last knee surgery, banged out all of the rest, all of my hours, and took the real estate test. And that was 11 years ago. And I cannot believe it's been that long, because it feels like yesterday.
Ah, wow. That's very cool. I like all the parallels from your coaching background and kind of the way you look at the business. And I like the what your mentor taught you about the beautiful importance of realtors. So I definitely want
Yes.
to touch on that. But right now, just to fast forward a little bit, now you're one of the top producing teams in Colorado. And one thing that I kind of hear you bringing up is the power of relationships, and the way you thought the business was a little bit used car salesman-y. And why don't we talk about that a little bit, about how you're really taking like a relationship based approach to the business, and
Yeah.
how tactically you're kind of going about that every day.
Absolutely. So I think, especially in today's world, it's really easy to lose authentic connection. And that doesn't mean that, sending videos to people and sending your newsletter and doing those activities is not important. But when we have so many options and so many different, shiny objects at all times, I think it's really critical to understand what your very basic building blocks of your business are that enable you to, have that strong foundation to succeed regardless of what the market is doing. And that really feeds into like what your skill set is, and what you're actually going to implement on a daily basis so that you've got that consistency. Because if I use what's called a greatness tracker, and I got this from a coach years ago, but it's basically an Excel spreadsheet, and it's got Monday through Sunday, and it's broken down into, okay, how many face-to-face meetings did I have that week? How many meals or coffee did I have this week? How many personal phone calls did I make? And each day is a different theme day in terms of like past clients, current clients, VIPs, whales, and then cold calls, like how am I connecting people with people authentically? And for me, like I love doing open houses. No, I don't like putting out open house signs. I don't think anyone does, but I love meeting people that way. So these are all things that are on my greatness tracker that I know that if I'm doing these activities consistently and I'm checking off the boxes, that I'm doing what feeds my business to help enable me to not have those huge ebbs and flows. But that's also what enables me to stay in relationship with people, because you're constantly, looking forward at, okay, who do I need to catch up with? Who have I not seen in the last half year or a year that I would like to take out to lunch and reconnect with. And then I'm going to make a phone call, invite them out for lunch or happy hour or whatever it may be, and reconnect with that person. So it really keeps you on track for, it's a good reminder in a busy world to stay relational, because at the end of the day, if you're doing a business that is not authentic and it just feels very transactional, chances are your sphere, your referral-based business, your clients are going to feel it and they're not going to like it. And it's going to it's not going to help your business. So actively finding ways that you can connect with people. And I think that a lot of times we try to think outside the box too much of how can I create, scenario situations where people will come and I'll interact with them. But it's like, look at your life. What are the things that you're passionate about doing? What what are the circles that also like doing those things? Like, are you a huge rock climber? Do you go to a specific rock climbing gym? Can you host a happy hour at that rock climbing gym and get to know the 20 people that you're, around maybe a couple times a week, but don't know super well? So it's really like catering the business to you, because that's how you're going to get that true authenticity across versus just faking it until you make it, which also serves its own place in other times. But yeah.
I love that. So the greatness tracker, is that the one through Core?
It is, yes.
Awesome.
I
Yeah,
ca-
very
you
familiar with that.
I changed mine quite a bit. And so I actually added in, especially, so I've been battling Lyme disease now for 9 years. And it pretty much, I mean, it's almost killed me a few times, to say the least. It's been quite the journey and quite the battle. But my greatness tracker not only includes those, the standard activities that you and I are used to seeing, but I put in there, okay, how many times a week did I go to the gym? Did I, do my vestibular physical therapy? Did I eat well? Did I drink enough water? Like, what are the core basics of how I'm going to thrive as a human? Because if I'm not taking care of myself, and that's so easy to do in real estate because we're all running around like chickens with our heads cut off. So it's like, if you're not very intentional with, okay, this is how I'm going to be taking care of myself, and keeping yourself accountable to that, then it's going to fall off and you're going to wear yourself into the ground. So I altered my greatness tracker a little. I don't know what Rick Ruby would think, but
Nice. So, yeah, let's stay on this for a minute because I think that a lot of people, in the business, they're looking for the latest marketing hack or the latest angle or the latest shiny object, where the greatness tracker really breaks it down to very simply like making contacts, getting face to face with people, doing the fundamental things that are important in a relationship based business like we are in.
yeah.
Um, so why don't we talk about kind of what are the fundamental things that are on there that you're doing every week to move the needle? Hey there, I just have a quick favor to ask. If you're getting value from Founders Club and you're watching on YouTube, just give us a like, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on iTunes, leave us a 5-star review. These things are free to do and it really helps the channel and it also helps us be able to bring better guests for you in the future. Now back to the episode.
Absolutely. And I think especially right now when we have so much technology coming out, and which is really exciting, and there's a huge need and place for it within the business, but at the same time it is so easy to get distracted by every different lead gen software there is, and everything you could imagine. That doesn't mean that the basics of what got you to where you are today should not be the most important part of your business, the core of your business. And then you can slowly implement things, shiny objects that you do want to be consistent with. So, figuring out how AI is going to work in your business, eventually that will be probably a pillar in our greatness tracker that we want to follow. But for me right now, it's how many people am I getting face to face with a week and actually having authentic conversations? How many people am I sitting down with and either having a meal or a coffee or a cocktail and just really not aiming to talk about business, but just really aiming to build relationship, because it's that face to face time that is going to make you top of mind for when, they talk or hear of anyone who needs a real estate agent. They're going to think of you because you took the time to nurture and build and grow that relationship. Then it's your phone calls, and to be totally honest, I've never been someone that loves making phone calls. I don't. I'm And I think there is a large part of the population now that prefers to text, but you have to go the extra mile. Like, you have to put the work in. And for me, that I call it biting the frog. Even if it's calling 12 past clients that I love dearly, it's still it still is not my favorite thing. But I know that once I get on the phone with someone and I start catching up and then planning and to get together for lunch in a couple of weeks, that it's going to feel good and that it's going to be something that moves the needle for me. Oddly, one of the most successful things that I do and that I love to do is writing handwritten notes. Like, that's on my greatness tracker to write 4 a day. And that's birthday cards, any life events that you see on Facebook. Hey, just checking in to see how you're doing, thinking about you. Let's grab a cup of coffee sometime. Or, hey, it's been a year since you bought your house. Let's schedule a sit down and go over an annual review to see, what your property's done in the last year. And I'd love to take a look at it. So writing handwritten cards for me is a huge one. I put open houses on there. I like to aim to do at least 2 a week. And I have to keep myself accountable to that because they'll easily get pushed aside otherwise. Um, and then it just goes to the basics of, like, okay, am I going to any networking events or any events in general? Am I making my I'm make about a video a day for Instagram? So have I filmed a few, batched a few videos for the week, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And and those are the pillars of my business. And I know from the last 11 years that when I'm implementing these things really well and I'm checking off the boxes, and when I was in core, it was, if you didn't check off a box, you were getting fined for not filling out that box. And luckily the fines went to a good cause. It was charity, but it kept you accountable, and it showed you that this is money that you're leaving on the table, and you're not taking care of your people if you're not really really invested in how to give them the best experience far beyond the closing table. And I think
Yeah.
that's what the key is. It's the relationship should not end at the closing table. That's honestly just almost a starting point of like, yes, we got you this incredible property. Now, like, let's build a lifelong relationship where I am your go-to agent, and anyone that you're going to be a raving fan of mine because I'm
Yeah.
doing these things. And it
Yeah.
helps take away the huge ebbs and flows, which, I think we're all experiencing right now.
Yeah, no, I love that because it's a simple system, right? You
Yes.
every week you know what you're supposed to be doing. You're able to hold yourself accountable, which is great,
Mhm.
and then it's something that anybody can do at any stage of the business. And I think what separates a lot of the top producers from just the average agent is that the way that they look at the transaction as it's not over once it's closed. That's really just the beginning. And you really look to build that lifelong relationship because although that person statistically is probably only going to move every 7 years,
Yeah,
they are almost guaranteed at least once a year to be able to give you a referral of one of their friends that's looking to buy or sell a house. So as
exactly.
long as you keep that relationship and you nurture it, like that's really the key to building that long-term book of business.
And asking, something that I struggled with as a young agent. I've gotten better over time, but um, it can still be a challenge. But you have to ask people for business, hey, do you know anyone that's looking to buy or sell in the next 90 days? I would love to connect with them. My business runs off referrals, and I had such a great time working with you. I'd love to be able to assist someone else. And that's something that I don't think that we do enough. But if you go to any professional and they do a great job for you and they ask for a referral, you're going to say absolutely. So what we need to remember that just because we're getting in front of people, yes, that is putting you top of mind, but it is okay to actually say, hey, I thank you for supporting my business. Here's how you can continue to. And I'd
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. The difference between asking for business and not is exponentially more. You're going to do exponentially more deals when you're asking for business consistently. And I
Yes.
think the reason most people don't do it is because it feels a bit awkward.
Yeah.
But it's not awkward when you have the relationship and you've put in the time. Like, if you close a house with someone and then 30 days later you say, "Hey, let's get together for coffee or something." Now you're
Yeah.
talking, and now it's real easy to just slip in there. Oh yeah, by the way, if you know anybody else looking, I'm always looking to service more clients, and I'd love to, any friend of mine, yours is a friend of mine, and let's all work together.
Exactly. And it really is one of those things where practice makes perfect, because it will feel awkward the first couple of times, but your
Yeah.
clients that you have built that relationship with, it almost becomes a friendly, just, conversation, and it becomes a lot more comfortable. And you get used to just saying, you've got to be your own biggest advocate. And then turning your clients that you just put so much care into making sure that they were taken care of. Like, you really, went above and beyond for them. You want to make sure that they know to also be your biggest advocate, because you just assisted them with one of the largest transactions they'll ever go through. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't they want to rep you if you did a great job?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So for people that want to take what you're saying and implement it into their business. Couple things I wrote down, and maybe you can kind of share the numbers in terms of like
Yeah.
how many contacts, how many sit downs. I think I heard you say 4 handwritten cards a day. Like,
Mhm.
what are your numbers in terms of the things you're trying to hit every week?
Yeah, and I'm happy to also send a greatness tracker to anyone. So please feel free to contact me. We'll get into that at the end, but I'm happy to share. I
Awesome.
like to aim for 10 face-to-face encounters a week.
Okay.
Um, and that doesn't have to be necessarily one-on-one. So maybe, it's sometimes it's even a group workout. I'm with four, people from my sphere and doing I host little workout groups. I like to aim for 5 to 6 breaking breads. So like 5 coffees or lunches or dinners with people. These are a lot more intimate, past clients, maybe whales, VIPs, people that you really just want to build a much deeper connection with. I aim for 10 to 12 calls a day. And like I said, each day I give a different theme. You can pick what themes work for you, but think about, okay, your past clients, your active clients, your in escrow clients, your whales that you want to go after, and then your maybe cold leads or following up with leads. That's 5 days of calls. And usually I try to get this done in 6 days, but it's always nice to have, if you need a little bit of wiggle room to have the seventh, of course. Then after that, 2 open houses a week. I like to do, if I'm batching video content, I block off 2 to 3 days for an hour about to just crank out maybe 3 or 4 videos. Um, did I say 4 notes? Like I said
Yeah.
earlier,
Four
four
notes a day.
notes.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I also track how many leads came in that day. So making sure that I have every lead that comes in, I can write into my greatness tracker and then transfer it into my lead tracker on my computer when I get home. I'm a big pen to paper girl, so I print out my greatness tracker on Sunday night at the beginning of every week. I There's something about being able to just mark it up, highlight things and that I need to, maybe I've been slacking in one area and I really need to pick up the pace.
Mhm.
But those are, oh, and how many properties I got under contract. So how many listings and how many buyers went under contract that week. And then I get into the more like personal health regimens. But those are really the pillars
I mean,
of
that's solid
business.
right
Yeah.
there.
It's
Yeah.
simple. It's like keep it simple, stupid. We try
Yeah.
to overcomplicate things and reimagine the wheel, reinvent the wheel, but really if we're just doing the basics and we're implementing them well and consistently, it will do so much more than paying for a trillion different types of lead gen and software. And not to say that those things don't work, because they do, but whatever it is that you're doing, if you're not doing it with consistency, then success is not going to follow.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's a very simple system to build a successful real estate business. And then the other part is just doing it consistently
Yeah.
and week after week, year after year, and you will flourish in this business.
Yeah. And it's even when it's hard, like there are plenty of times, especially right now, as the market's been more challenging for quite a while, where the monotony can be, you can get a little bit burnt out on it. But whenever things feel that way, I really believe it's the time to lean in and say, how can I actually get 1% better at all of these activities every day? Like, how can I make my phone calls more engaging? How can I make my face to face meetings more impactful? What events can I be throwing to create impact and to create kind of that word of mouth that you want. There's always ways to, you know, perfect these very basic skills. So even though they seem basic, it's like there's always room for growth there.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't take a huge database. Like people often think, I need thousands of people in my database or hundreds of people. And a good friend of mine, Mike Cuevas, he's the real estate marketing dude. He always says, you really only need like 100 people, because out of those 100 people, probably 10 might do a direct transaction. But
Yeah.
if all 100 of those gave you one referral a year, and half of them closed, you're doing 50 deals a year just off a
Amazing.
100 people database.
Exactly.
Hey, real quick, we are growing our nationwide real estate team and we are looking for agents and brokers who want to be a part of it. When you join our inner circle, you'll have access to private trainings, 100% commission real estate plans, stock awards, and the ability to refer agents to build a downline for passive income. Best part is you get 188 pieces of print marketing collateral for free on every listing to help you sell more homes. To learn more, visit 100commissionrealestate.com. That's the number 100commissionrealestate.com, or send me a message on any of my social media accounts. Links in the description below, and we'll look forward to talking to you. Now back to the episode.
And you really, you know, in core the coaching program we were talking about, we would create a top 50 VIP list and a top 50 past client list. And that was really what enabled, you know, me to get hyper focused on, okay, I've got this, you know, my CRM might seem overwhelming and really, you know, like impersonal, some of it. And who are the top 50 people that I want to make sure I'm connecting with quarterly, you know,
Yep.
or every 6 months, or whatever your pace is. But it doesn't take, you're right, like if you even have 25 people that you're their absolute go-to and they're referring you and you're asking for a couple of referrals a year, that can feed your business consistently year over year, and you'll continue to grow and continue to succeed. And you're doing it in a way where it's authentic and you're enjoying the people that you're doing business with, because they come from the people that are on your short list, so to speak.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. So there it is. There's a very simple system
Yes.
that anybody can follow to have success in the business. In addition to that, as we start to wrap up, what are the qualities that you think make a great real estate agent?
Man, you know, I think you have to have resilience for sure. I think you really have to understand that there are going to be very good times and very bad times, and you have to be resilient. You have to be consistent. You have to be reliable. And that means to, you know, you have to be reliable to yourself, and in showing up and getting to the office when you say you're going to get to the office, which is, you know, having a sense of integrity as well. So resilience, integrity, authenticity, you know, you don't want to do business from a place that's not actually you. You want to build a business based on who you are and what you love, and find like-minded people. And I think being authentic and real with everyone that you encounter is honestly the only way to go about it, because that's what's going to build like a happy lifelong career. If you're just faking it forever, it's probably not going to be very fulfilling.
That's for sure. Yeah, no, that's really good advice, and I think the authenticity piece is critical to let that shine through,
Yeah.
and that way you're going to attract people that like you as the person you actually are, not the person you're faking or pretending to be. So that's very cool. And then for people that want to connect with you or learn more or get the greatness tracker, how can they reach you?
Yeah, so I'm gonna just give you my website, because all my social media is on there. So you can follow me. I put great videos out on Instagram every day, and Facebook. and YouTube, all of that good stuff. And it's got my email and phone number. So please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm here to help. My website is www.athena, Athena Brownson, Brownson, realtor.com.
Love it. Easy enough. Athena Brownson, Realtor.com. Definitely go check her out. As always, make sure you check out the links in the description below. And if you like money and you like real estate, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, Athena.
Thank you.
That was great.
That was wonderful. Thank you. So easy. You're easy to talk to. I appreciate it. I love
Likewise.
listening to your podcast, so I was very excited.